And good afternoon and welcome to Straight Talk. This is your Drive at 5 show. Catherine Tyson, your host. Good afternoon and welcome to Wellness Wednesday. Today we're going to be doing some different things because I'm flying solo, and you know how that goes when you're in here by yourself. I don't know if you know how it goes, but it's kind of interesting. But today we're going to be talking about a couple of things. I'll get to some hot topics that I did not cover yesterday, but I'll also get to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is parenting, and some tips and stuff for you guys. Obviously, the kids are going to be home again, it seems, depending on what's going on, or we're going to be prepared for that for sure. Don't get in a frenzy. I didn't say it. I'm just saying, in the event that it happens, lots going on out there. Georgetown Primary School is closed after the student tested positive for COVID-19. As you know, that was a huge thing that happened yesterday. Classes at the Georgetown Primary School have been suspended, and students advised to stay at home after a year 6 child tested positive for COVID-19 on Monday. Public health officials, along with the Ministry of Education, have activated their planned response measures in line with the current public health COVID-19 protocols. And since receiving notification late Monday evening that one of our students has tested positive for COVID-19, we, along with public health, have immediately activated our continuity of operations plan for schools. In consultation with public health authorities, our staff will be on ground at Georgetown Primary School to oversee the implementation of the appropriate measures and to provide support and guidance where needed. And that was assured by the Director of Education Services, Mr. Mark Ray. So parents of students attending the Georgetown Primary School have been advised that students and their families should remain at home until they are contacted on the morning by the school administration advised of a time their year would be tested for COVID-19. So I guess those of you that have students at Georgetown Primary, you probably have gotten that update. As it is, things have changed. We will not be going to our next phase and of reopening. That won't be happening until next year. That was actually on yesterday's press briefing. That was the news there. So a lot of people are happy about that. Kind of mixed feelings. I saw a lot of activity yesterday evening on Facebook in reference to that from my Facebook family and friends. And, some people saying, what are we doing? We need to open up. People have to get back to work. And some people saying, oh, you don't care about your kids. And so back and forth, like, it's not that. I just need to pay my bills. I need to pay my mortgage. I need to, I love my kids, so I want to take care of them. So, everybody let's just calm down and, not go at each other, really. And then my advice would be to the people who are going at it with people that are not going to be understanding your logic, or you're trying to be reasonable and they're not reasonable. Hey, just don't get yourself up in a frenzy, because I can tell you what, we all just need to stay healthy and keep our immune systems up to ensure that we get through whatever it is that we have to get through, because stress, fear, anxiety, all that stuff is actually not going to be the best thing for us during this time. So keep your pressures down, keep your blood pressure down. I have to say that because, I saw it last night a couple of times, back and forth with a few different, lines of I don't know, discussion, argument, fight, whatever it was. And it was just like, calm down, calm down. You don't want to go have no heart attack, stroke, drop down, pop down in the middle of that because somebody's not understanding your point or you missing the point. All right, so just calm down, okay? So that's what I would say. We're all in this together. We are 9433700. Please call me. If you got something to say, if you have something on your mind, just give me a call. That would be awesome. I would love to facilitate that conversation because I am here flying solo this afternoon. It is Wellness Wednesdays. It is Straight Talk Drive to 5. I am Catherine Tyson, your host, and thank you for joining me this afternoon. All right. Wow. Tell you what, a lot going on up in here. We got to be clearing our throats and all kinds of stuff. And every time you see somebody clearing their throat out in public, you're like, oh, what's going on? Calm down. It doesn't mean anything. People are still going to get a little cold, hey. So listen, it is getting maddening out there. All right, vaccine numbers grow, mask mandates re-emerge. I don't know about you, but today and yesterday I was on the streets and it was a mask time to put on masks to go anywhere. So that's back. Businesses and government agencies began implementing mask mandates at the weekend as fears that Cayman's COVID-free community bubble has burst. The concern has also fueled a surge in the uptake of the vaccine, with an additional 514 people getting shots over the weekend. I know personally a couple that did. The national vaccination rate of people with both doses is now at 71% and climbing, and 75% of the population with at least one dose. Meanwhile, government offices from the courthouse to the Port Authority introduced mask mandates and social distancing protocols. Banks, shops, and other customer-facing businesses also began introducing mask mandates for staff, and some were asking their customers to also wear masks. I actually had to put on a mask to go in a restaurant this morning, and I thought that was interesting. I don't want to say, it was ridiculous, but it was interesting because I got to walk in with a mask, but I take it off because I'm going to sit down and eat. Okay, great. Yeah, so that's what's happening. Okay, but you know what? We're trying to do what we can do, and take care of ourselves and our community. I can tell you what, it really is a bubble burst situation that we are, reacting to. But I think we really, let's put this in perspective, right? Just look at the rest of the world. The world, your life has to continue. At some point, you're going to have to deal with whatever it is. We cannot stay locked away forever. I'm sorry, that is my opinion. We're not going to go back to the fishing days, fishing for your meals, right? To your turtling, So when you think about locking it down, you really think on that basis. You have to think about, what that really, really means to a country. And when you look at the other countries, I just came back from Jamaica, and let me tell you, people are living. Some people are like, hey, if I gotta die, I gotta die. I'm not saying that's the attitude, but I am saying that they're somewhere in the middle. They're somewhere in the middle of lock it down forever. We don't want any COVID in our community. When you see around the world, COVID exists and people are getting through it. Look at the percentage, come on, mortality rate, come on. Let's not get too, let's not go too far, right? Okay, so there you go. All right, let's see. The Cayman Islands government to consult UK officials on opening plan. The government has a difficult decision to make about possible changes to the current quarantine regime in the Cayman Islands and whether to stick to the plan to lift the 5-day isolation period for fully verifiably vaccinated visitors and travelers next month. And so that has actually changed. So it's gone to 7 days as opposed to 5. And no one other than Caymanians or people that work here, work permit holders, people that have rights to be in Cayman are actually going to be allowed to come in. So that decision has been made. So they have gotten that consultation with the UK officials. More breaches as COVID isolation cases grow. Oh, come on, people, just let's follow the law. Let's follow, what's happening. Let's not make it harder. And I only say that because, if something is in place and you're supposed to adhere to it, why are you breaking that law? Why are you breaking the rules? Why? Everybody else has to do it. So you have, the last 1,000 people that had to stay in quarantine and you can't do it? Why? Why are you so special? Come on, okay? Let's It's really kind of, just think. You better think, okay? Aretha Franklin said it a long time ago. All right, really, for real. Okay, and so another thing that was on my mind this afternoon, it's a hot topic. Yes, definitely, man seriously wounded in stabbing, and then there's another, like somebody got shot. Come on, is this what's happening? Like there is enough going on around us, right? And if we all took the opportunity to tell people that, like, stop that. What is going on? I mean, you're still out there, harming each other, causing harm to one another. Listen, we're in such a very sensitive time in our lives, all of us. I mean, I think this is a perfect topic just for Wellness Wednesdays because we have to stay well, and that's mentally well, physically well, psychologically well, emotionally well, because this is something that we've not experienced. Any of us have experienced anything like this in our lives, right? And so we can be a little stressed, lots of, our tempers are rising, but we need to, let a level head kind of prevail in certain situations. I mean, I'm talking because sometimes I'm getting bothered and I'm like, calm down, what are you doing? Right? Like, come on, yeah. So try to take care of each other and stop that, out there hurting each other, stabbing and shooting. But where are the guns? Look where the guns coming from. Come on, it's just too much. It really, really is just too much. Another thing I wanted to mention, another hot topic, the panic shopping. All right, listen. Okay, I know you need stuff. I know there's a joke on Facebook or on the internet. What's up with the toilet paper rush? What's up with the desperation that I got to get all the toilet paper off of the shelves? I need someone to tell me that because I don't understand it. And I don't understand it because I generally, almost every time I shop, I pick up, like a package of toilet paper. I really do. Like, it's just one of the things that, when I do my regular shopping, say I do that for the month, right? And so I'm going to go down as many aisles as I can and pick up stuff that I know I even have still, but I just don't like to, just have to be panic shopping. And then when I'm panic shopping, I can't find it because it's gone. So if we could just be a little bit more considerate of each other, considerate of one another when we are shopping. And so, that would help us not to be hoarding stuff, but also to be, citizens of the universe, citizens of the world, and understanding that everybody's probably looking for some toilet paper, or everybody's probably looking for, some milk or some chicken or eggs. Come on, right? Okay, so that's it. My word of the afternoon is come on, honestly. Okay, very, very seriously. So yeah, the grocery stores are doing their best to kind of put a cap on certain things. So now you're not allowed to go in and get, any number that you want. You can only get a particular number, and that's their way of trying to help us, level out. But remember, we are the Cayman Islands, and everything is coming in from overseas. So take time with yourself, take time with people, okay, and the things, and don't be greedy, be considerate. And so when you're doing your regular shopping, pick up here and there an extra can of beans, you know, some tomato sauce, pack of rice, so that you don't have to go and just clean the shelves. And then when someone else comes behind you who doesn't have that in their house, they can't get anything. Come on, really? No. All right, another thing I thought I'm going to talk about this afternoon, Disability Council challenges airport change. And I want to give credit to the Cayman News Service, CNS, that I get a lot of my stuff off of. I get some things from the Cayman Times, just different places, Cayman Compass as well. You pull different things from different news sources. But this particular one is from the Cayman News Service, or CNS. And when I watch the press briefing, I always like to see Wendy, kind of like holding them to the fire and asking the questions that we want to know. She's very good about that. Thank you for that, Wendy. And somebody wrote on Facebook last night, and I want to say this because Reshma is my friend, and I used to work with her. Where's Reshma? So Reshma, people are looking for you. Just want to let you know that, okay? So they're thinking about you and they're looking for you. All right, Disability Council challenges airport change. All right, this is pretty serious, a serious topic. And I think it's a really good topic for today as well, because this is about, fair, just being fair and just equity across the board for everyone in our community, all of us. The National Council for Persons with Disabilities organized a meeting recently with the Cayman Islands Airports Authority CEO Albert Anderson for his team to address the adverse impact for the disabled community of new ban on curbside drop-off and pickup at Owen Roberts International Airport. Given that the new policy directly affects people with mobility issues who use wheelchairs or other aids, the Council took the opportunity to offer suggestions to the CIAA on how to make their airport experience more inclusive and easier for them to use and navigate. The new policy, which commenced on the 30th of August, bans all vehicles other than authorized vehicles such as taxis, pre-booked buses, or limousines to drop off or pick up passengers directly in front of the main terminal, which presents obvious difficulties for the disabled. NCPD Chairperson Magda Embry said she was pleased the CIA was listening to the Council's suggestions. She said she looked forward to learning the outcome of the request for an exemption that would, at a minimum, accommodate curbside drop-off and pickup of people with mobility issues, including those using wheelchairs or other mobility aids. All right, so yeah, I mean, very, very good, opportunity to advocate for people who are not mobile in our community and use certain devices. Yeah, I would think, sometimes decisions are made. It's not even on purpose that people, kind of make decisions, or groups make decisions, or you come up with fancy schmancy plans, and not everybody has been, considered. It doesn't mean that someone's, not necessarily considerate. It's just that people just get busy with the obvious, and so yeah, it does take sometimes just kind of tapping someone on their shoulder and saying, hey, don't know if you saw this or you realize this, but this is what's happening. And that's always good, because then, it gives the person an opportunity to think and then, put different things in place. So, yeah, because I think even for mobile people, just not even being able to drop off at curbside anymore has been a little bit of a, inconvenience, but we understand the situation. But yes, for people that are not able, like we are, to walk far distances, or they have to use a device. I mean, imagine them, right? Because if we who we're fine, we don't have any of these limitations. If we're kind of bothered, imagine how that must feel for someone else. So yeah, good on them. Very good. All right. HSA is prepared for reintroduction of COVID in the community. It's been part of the action plan for the border reopening. They're a facility that regularly manage infectious diseases and have policies and practice in place to ensure the safety of our staff and patients. Paying attention to ensuring that, I'm just saying this, Catherine Tyson is saying this, ensuring that, people are not being exposed, to situation. I know that there's a flu clinic or something. There's a whole lot going on out there. So yeah, paying attention to that so that people don't have to actually end up in their house locked down. This is happening. It is. So yeah, we're all trying to rock with this thing somehow. Yep. So there's a flu clinic out there from Monday to Friday at the HSA 8 to 4, starting on Monday. That started this Monday. And there are, they're specifically for persons experiencing flu-like symptoms. They're not receiving people at the emergency room for that anymore. It's the flu clinic. They can attend the acute care walk-in clinic outside of the hours of 8 to 4. And they can go there until 8 p.m. And then also on Saturday. And flu symptoms, we'll let you know now if you think you have flu, fever, sore throat, cough, runny nose, muscle or body aches, chills. If you're experiencing worsening symptoms like dizziness, confusion, severe or persistent vomiting, pain or pressure in the chest or abdomen, difficulty breathing, please call 911. Okay, because you might be experiencing something else. If you do have flu symptoms, stay at home and contact your healthcare provider or the flu hotline 947-3077 or 1-800-534-8600 or email flu@hsa.ky, and callers will then speak with a health professional about your symptoms, screen for travel history, advise on what you should do, come to the flu clinic, or stay home in isolation. All right, so yeah, there's a flu clinic, but it's better for you to call 947-3077 so they can assess you. Right, all right. Also, there's a respiratory care unit, and it's out of the abundance of caution. The respiratory care unit at the Cayman Islands Hospital has been reactivated. The unit holds 6 beds and is for moderately symptomatic COVID-19 positive patients who do not require ventilation. All right, the visitation policy, just to let you know, the health services is reminding the public that our visitation policy, implemented as a part of its COVID-19 precautionary measures at the beginning of the pandemic, will be strictly enforced at all HSA facilities. The visitation policy states, face masks are required at all times. Visitors must be 18 plus years or older. Visitors should check in at the main atrium information desk and bring a photo ID. A&E visitors should still use the A&E entrance. 1 designated visitor allowed to visit a patient in accident and emergency for a maximum of 15 minutes. Visitors will be permitted at the discretion of the physicians and nurses. 1 visitor per patient per day will be allowed on the medical, surgical, maternity, mental health, and critical care units. 2 persons, parents, guardian, or caregiver, will be allowed for patients in the pediatric unit and neonatal intensive care unit. In patients who require assistance, we have 1 caregiver as a part of their care team. 1 visitor will be permitted to accompany a patient to facilitate care or treatment such as ambulatory visit, procedure, or same-day surgery. All visitors are asked to sanitize their hands upon entering and exiting both the patient's room and the hospital. And the visiting hours are 11 to 8 daily. COVID-19 positive patients will not be allowed visitors. Okay, that's important to know. And if you need to reach a patient room, just call 949-8600. All right, and the flu hotline again, 947-3077 or 1-800-534-8600 or email flu@hsa.ky. The clinics and services, there's no interruption in patient clinics or services at the HSA at this time. And the personal protective equipment and supplies at HSA has adequate supplies, equipment, and therapeutics to manage the present situation. They also have most standard medication recommended for use in the management of COVID-19 and have also sourced some newer immune modulating biologics. A total of 20 ventilators are available at the Cayman Islands Hospital should they be needed. Okay, so that's all some really great information. And if you wanted to check that out, you could find that actually on Cayman News Service, where it is there for you, for your information. So HSA prepared for reintroduction of COVID in the community. Now listen, here's the thing. I think that is to kind of put our mind at ease that, we're okay. We're going to be okay. If anything happens, we're prepared and we're able to manage it. Okay, right. So before you know it, we're going to be talking about opening the borders again. And so we're going to just have to really, just deal with that, right? And so everybody's kind of able to calm a little bit now, but just stay steady. Yeah, stay steady. This is Wellness Wednesdays. We talk about your health. We talk about your mental health. We talk about your body, taking care of it, taking care of your emotional health, take care of yourself, because you are your best asset. Your health is your wealth. Uh, but we also want to ensure that we're taking care of ourselves, and we're taking care not only of ourselves also, but we're taking care of the people that we love, and making sure that we're doing the right things, but we're also being considerate of each other. So, no man is an island, for real. Yeah, we live on one, but no man is an island. So, yes, make sure that that's what we're doing. 943-3700. Would love to hear from you this afternoon. That would be awesome. If you wanted to call, you are driving along, you had a question, you had a concern about something, I'd love to hear from you this afternoon. When I come back from break, I will be talking about parenting, and just giving some little tips. One of my all-time favorite, I guess, parenting gurus type of person, his name is John Rosemond. You can look him up. And I always say that he basically saved my life when I had two little boys, before I had my daughter. And let me tell you, he was absolutely, like, the book that he wrote, it's called The 6-Point Plan for Raising Happy, Healthy Children. And if I had not somehow stumbled upon this, it was a workshop, I think, at a college that I was going to, and I think I took it for a class or something, but it just saved my life. It really did. So if you're struggling with some things as a parent, there are resources out there, John Rosemond being one of them. Check him out. He also had, I think it's like johnrosemond.com or something. Like, he has a website, and you can follow him on Instagram. I'm going to be talking a little bit about some of the things that he talks about, some advice that he gives, to kind of just get us that we're not going to lose all of our marbles or our mind during this process, especially when we are having to, have our children more in our care because of the pandemic, right? That we're not overindulging them, that we're not spoiling them, you know what I mean? Okay, man, you know what I mean. Because that's not good also. And we are in a crucial time right now that we're going to have to be making some really great decisions. I'm going to come back in just a couple of minutes and talk with you a little bit about parenting on this Wellness Wednesdays. This is Straight Talk Drive to 5. I'm Catherine Tyson, your host. We shall be back, so stay tuned right after these messages. And welcome back to Straight Talk. This is your Drive at 5 show, and I'm Catherine Tyson, your host. This is Wellness Wednesdays. We are talking about all sorts of things, and that have to do with our health and taking care of each other and our community during this time. Now I'm going to switch a little bit, really say change gears a little bit, switch gears a little bit, and talk a little bit about parenting. I love that topic because it is huge. We are creating the future, basically. And, the statement of the one thing that you don't need qualifications for is being a parent, right? You just need to be of age and able to make a baby. Yeah, so it's pretty serious, right? And in the times that we're in, as we can see, I mean, for me, my generation, I know we are looking at the ones that, the younger ones are saying, oh my gosh, what is happening? Like, I could never do that. I would never have done, I would never have said that. Oh, why are you allowing that child to say that? I mean, yeah, we are just like befuddled. I don't even know what to what to call it. So every now and then, really try to just kind of zone in and say, all right, let's talk a little bit about parenting. I wrote a book called I'm Somebody's Mama, my life as a single mother. It was just kind of a, kind of recollection of some things that I had experienced as a single mother of 3 children. And I have a new book out, a shameless plug. It's going to be called Single Mama, Powerful, Not Pitiful. And we'll be talking more about that at some point when that finally, hits the ground. But pandemic and everything has thrown off everyone's plans. But I do like to talk about parenting because I think we don't realize a lot of times that we're making or breaking a situation. We're making or breaking people. We are building. Our job is to build good people. Put the building things in, the building blocks, and create a space for individuals to emerge and take their rightful place in society and to be amazing. That's our job as parents. If that's not what we're doing, if that's not what we're thinking about every single day, every single decision that we're making, then somehow I think we're off the mark. Because you know what we could have done? We could have just not had kids. We could have just said, hey, I like my life. I don't want any responsibility. I don't want to be responsible for another human being. I don't want to be responsible for teaching, for a foundation. I just want to live my life, have fun, make my own decisions, do whatever I want to do. That's my word on the subject. You decide to bring a child into this world. You decide to be a parent, much less 2 or 3 or 4 or more, then it is your responsibility. You are creating a world citizen, one way or the other. And so when you see all the things happening around you and these, these crimes or these things that occur, they're not just dropping out of the sky. This is a baby. This person was a baby at some point. First it was a thought, and maybe it wasn't, and then it grew into something, and then it came into this world, and then it was in this world, and under the care or responsibility of somebody or somebody's. Okay. Pretty serious. All right, John Roseman, 8-point plan for raising happy, healthy children. It's such a great book. I'm going to be reading a little bit from that, but just about the book. Let's see. John is an author. He's a psychologist, really, and he's a columnist. And he asserts that rearing children can be relatively easy and enjoyable if parents follow this advice. If you're married, take care of your marriage first. If you're single, make sure you're okay. And then you take care of the kids. Expect the children to obey. I love this. Expect them to obey, and they will. Make children accept responsibility for their behavior and for household chores. And in other words, make sure they have household chores. Say no to your child. Don't feel bad about saying no to your child, because as you say no, you're building character. Depending on what you say no for, right? You're building character. Restrict so many toys and gadgets. Let them use their imagination. If you give them too many toys, too many gadgets, their imagination is going to be limited. Keep television viewing to a minimum, or youth will become passive and they might not develop an interest in reading or exploring. Each chapter of this book, 6-point plan to raising happy, healthy children, includes questions from parents, and he then gets to reply to the questions. He doesn't believe that there's any justification for letting a preschool child watch any television at all. I know this is going to step on some of your toes, because I see 3-year-olds with their what do they call it? Tablets and iPads, and they know how to work all that. All right, yeah, I mean, maybe that's okay, yeah. But just careful if that's all you're doing. You're handing that phone to them or handing that tablet to them because it's helping you. Actually, hey, that's not what that's supposed to be doing, right? You're supposed to be engaging with your child. All right, give yourself permission to be creatively selfish and excessively cute. Instead of using the word no, he writes about vitamin N. And the book succeeds in presenting fresh, reasonable strategies that should help parents to resolve family conflicts and raise well-adjusted children. There's one part of the book where he's he says that it's a because I told you so. So because I told you so rule. And I know we grew up with that. Some of you driving along now, you know what I mean. We grew up with that. Why? Because I told you so. Why? Because I said so. Okay. And so that's almost like this thing that it makes it funny, but it's the truth. Yeah. So all right, let's read a little bit. All right. Ask yourself, have you ever thought that your actions have consequences? All right. Try not going to work for a week and not calling in. Will your boss come to your house and say, hey, I wanted you to come to work? You need to get out of that bed. I'm going to count to three and you have to be up and getting ready. One, two, three. Two and a half. Three and a half. Two and three quarters. If the world works on the basis of actions have consequences, then why do we as parents not teach that to our children? All right, the book is a good overview of the theory with good practical examples of how to train your children, right? And guarantee that they're a good, productive member of society in the end. But poor training is far more likely to result in poor results. All right, okay. So, strong love, tough love. You can call it what you will, but it's real love. Weak love is indulgent, permissive, appeasing. Parents who love weakly generally expect a lot of themselves and relatively little of their children. They want their children to make good grades in school, but they ensure the good grades by sitting with each child as he or she does homework, guiding every move. But in doing so, you harm your children more than help them out of misplaced love. Weak love is also afraid of making a child upset, afraid of hearing a child yell, you don't love me, or it's not fair, or I hate you. By contrast, strong love is empowering, but a child may not always like it. And it's harder than weak love. The parent whose love is strong understands that children must learn certain things the hard way through relatively lonely encounters with adversity. In other words, everything can't work out for them. They have to learn that the world does not work that way. They need to learn by making mistakes. Strong love is there to protect, but realizes that adversity per se is not reason enough for protection. Strong love helps a child stand on his own 2 feet, requires that a child lie in the bed he makes, lets a child stew in his own juices, and is supportive, but requires that a child fight his own battles. Now, isn't that what we're trying to teach our children? To learn how to fight their own battles, right? I mean, if we want to raise a person that's going to be strong enough to handle adversity, we're going to have to be okay with them having adversity. So, I know a lot of parents are sitting down, and I was guilty of that sometimes, sitting down and basically doing the homework for them. But no, that's not what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to help them with the resources, but they need to be using their brain. And so I think realizing that they're not going to be the best at everything, and that's okay too. They might actually not, bring home straight A's, but that's okay if they're doing their best, if they're working their hardest, if they're putting their all into it, if they're not leaving things the last minute, if you're not the person that's ensuring that you're taking care of it for them. If they don't bring home a straight A, hey, it's not the end of the world, right? I mean, what we need to be teaching them is how to be balanced individuals. I mean, right now, you're listening to me. I'm sure some of you aren't strong in some areas. I'm not strong in math. Forget it. Math was the toughest thing for me. But I was able to get some resources that assisted me while I needed to pass some classes, in college or whatever. But it's not my strong point. So I'm not going to work in an area that requires a whole lot of math because that's not Catherine. But that's okay. So we need to also be very, very, clear on our expectations sometimes and stop trying to, make sure that our children are getting like a false, almost like a false understanding of what the world is. Like, hey, it's the false understanding of the world is that you have to get straight A's, you have to be the best. I've seen parents that are not sitting down helping with homework. I've seen parents that are not checking to see if homework is done, or not checking to see if their child, is getting to bed on time, and all this stuff. But yet they're disappointed when a child comes home, failing a class, or stuff like that. How are you able to do that when you're not doing your part? Parenting is not easy. It's not easy, but it's easier when you put the work in. It becomes easy when you put that work in, you put those guidelines in, right? For sure. All right, another thing I thought was very interesting. I want to share this. Uh, Instead of sharing your success with your children in material terms, share with them the skills and values they will need to eventually achieve success on their own. In other words, if you deprive your child now, he or she will be better equipped later to strive and thrive. Okay? Now, by the way, this is representative of how veteran teachers typically describe today's children. It would appear that a generation of children whose parents wanted to provide them with more opportunity have dedicated themselves as parents to providing their children with more things. It is every parent's responsibility to teach his or her children a fundamental law of reality. Actually, it's a law in three parts. You cannot get your bread buttered on both sides. That's a good thing to teach a child. There will be times when you won't be able to get it buttered on either side. But ain't that the truth, adults that are listening? And there will even be times when you won't have a piece of bread. Now, isn't that the truth? So, in other words, we're trying to protect our children from the reality of life, or we're trying. I see parents that are, overindulging, right? In other words, their little children have everything, but yet they're not able to meet their monthly bills. Well, are you taking some of the monthly bill money to ensure that your child has that latest gadget or that latest shoe? Careful with that. I think that's what is, what we're talking about here as well, right? Whether you earn $4 million a year or $25,000, it is your duty to your children and our culture to teach them reality principles. In other words, the richer you are, the more important it becomes that you not completely share your standard of living with your children. I heard a mother say to me one day, a mother of a teenage boy, and she said, "I told my son, you need to you need to further your education, or you need to be able to get a good job because you can't afford your lifestyle right now." Right now, the lifestyle that I provide for you, you can't afford for yourself. I thought it was very interesting. It was funny. I chuckled at it, but then I thought about it later and I thought, wow. So what she's providing for her child, he cannot afford himself. So in other words, you have gotten him to a level where unless he's able to provide that for himself, he's going to be in a crisis. He's going to be struggling. So that's why it's so important to ensure that you are doing your job, that he's able to maintain himself. So the more you're giving him, the more you need to be putting in to ensure that he can keep giving that to himself. But sometimes that's a catch-22. So you're giving so much and they kind of become a little complacent or a little laid back, right? And so they're not as ambitious as they probably need to be, because at some point parents go, oh, I'm not doing that for you anymore. You're 20, you're 19, you're 25, or they're still at home at 30, 32, 34. Anybody who has a child at home, if this is your child, this is coming from me, if this is your child and he or she is still at home and they're out of high school and maybe they're out of college or they're not going to college, and they are not contributing, you need to be putting some fire under them. Absolutely. You have done your part, even if you haven't, even if you've made some mistakes along the way, they are now adults. So I'm not the person that promotes adults being at home and not contributing. I have people that I know in my life that talk about their grown children that are living at home. Some of them are even working, but they're not contributing. And I'm saying, what are you doing? So you 45 or you're 55 and your 20 something year old children working, their girlfriends living at home, their boyfriends living at home, and no one is helping you with anything, and you're just stressed to them. Excuse me, I'm sorry. It is time. You can love them, but it is time for you to say, hey, love you very much, but I think it's time for you to go ahead and live your own life, stand on your own feet, and not feel guilty about that. But if it started when they were young and they're still young, stop it now. If it started when they're young, now it's time for you to stop it anyway. But if you still have young children or teenagers, you need to start curtailing that and have them work for themselves sometimes. Have them work for some of these things. I'm not saying go put them out to get a job, but give them some responsibility, because remember, you are actually preparing them to stand on their own 2 feet. And if they are not able to stand on their own 2 feet, then you are not preparing them properly. And I know some parents that I don't know what would happen if something happened to that parent. What would those children do? Well, you know what they'd do? They'd probably survive. They'd probably land on their feet. So, don't sit home anymore allowing all of these grown people around you to not be contributing, especially, first of all, especially if they're working. And second of all, if they're not working, they need to be working. If you're getting up and going to work every day and you are the parent of a grown person, well, they need to be doing the same thing, because it should be that your life is getting a little easier, not more difficult. Okay? All right. And we are in a time right now where if we start pooling our resources, we can actually get through this. We can survive, because people have lost jobs, houses have had to downsize, some people have lost homes, they've had to give up their apartments or whatever and move back in with their parents. All right, no problem. This is a perfect time to start pooling resources, right? So imagine how much easier it would be. But if you take the next couple years, however long we're going to be in the situation that we're in, let's prepare. Let's prepare for the next year or two, at least the next year, and take that time to help each other, pool our resources, but to get through this stronger than before. All right, so parents, do not feel bad about coming down on your grown child, okay, to help you. And do not feel bad about not giving everything to your children, your teenagers. It is unrealistic. Do not feel bad to say no, okay? That's going to help your life. Success involves the ability to tolerate frustration and failure. Therefore, parents should take care not to protect their children from either too much frustration or too much failure. It is not necessarily that consequences must escalate as the severity of the crime increases when a child misbehaves. Some consequences do. Punishment, however, is but one of the available options. Other options include a stern reprimand, an open discussion of why the behavior took place and how it can be prevented in the future, or even a simple acknowledgement of the misdeed, along with an equally simple statement of disapproval, as in, I know you got in trouble in school today. All I have to say to you is I'm not pleased. Your choice is determined by a number of variables, including the child's age, the nature of the misbehavior in question, and whether or not it's chronic, the child's emotional status, and whether it tends to take place in public or only in the home. It is not necessarily true that the consequences must escalate as the severity of the crime increases. It is sometimes, in fact, more strategic to take a low-key approach with a serious infraction. Likewise, it might be best to impose a heavy penalty for a problem that's relatively minor but occurs fairly often. When a child tests you, they are doing precisely that. They are testing you. not the form, but the substance. And when in response you demonstrate your own sense of purpose in what you're doing, you demonstrate also your commitment to your child. When they're convinced of that, they will cooperate with you. No question about it. Okay? So consequences are necessary, but it can come in different forms. It doesn't mean that you have to, pound your child to pieces. That's a fight I have with island people all the time, Caribbean people. I'm an island person. I'm from the Caribbean, but I fight with them all the time on that because I say, why you got to be beating your children so much? First of all, is it effective, or is it just creating fear? Yeah, I want my child afraid of me. Really? Because at some point they're not going to be afraid of you, or at some point you're damaging a relationship. So no, fear shouldn't be like your thing, even if it was something that you experienced growing up. And what it does is it creates a big problem in your relationship. What you want to be doing is creating a relationship with your children so that when they become adults, you still have a relationship with them. So less fear and more respect. Yeah. But yeah, I fight all the time with people about that, about not beating children. And I have to always say, I have two boys, two sons and a daughter, and my sons are 6 feet tall, big, bigger than me, and they were that tall when they were teenagers, 13, 14. So I always knew when they were not that tall that at some point they were going to be bigger and stronger than me and faster. Right? Bigger, stronger, outrun me, grab the belt, whatever it was. So I'm going to have to figure out something that's going to work. And yeah, I was that parent that just did like, okay, we're good. Everybody's happy. I want the love. I want for us to be laughing and whatever, but you have your responsibilities. You have to live up to it. I have my expectations. You have to live up to it. At the end of the day, I am the parent. I am the parent, period. There was never a question about that. But they also understood if I could not afford something, and it kind of it bothers you sometimes, because I remember one of my sons when he was 5, the oldest when he was 5, and we were in a store and he said, can we afford this? And I just heard that word and I was like, oh gosh, when did he hear me saying it? Because I know it's something he heard me say, and at that moment, yeah, that kind of bothered me. But you know what, it was the truth. It was him saying, hey, I'm paying attention. I want to be a part of this team. Can we afford this? Because if we can't, what can we afford? And so I didn't have discussions with him about what we could or could not afford. I never sat down and talked to a 5-year-old about, we're broke, we don't, whatever. But I also did not give, a 5-year-old anything that he wanted. There was not a moment that a child should feel that they're rich, and they're not. Okay, they should be rich in love and rich in abundance of joy in their home and harmony and all of that stuff. But realistic, you can be realistic too, right? So be very careful with that. All right. You cannot supply anyone else's warehouse unless your own is fully stocked. The single parent trap is more likely to snare single mothers than single fathers for a number of reasons. Mothers are more likely than fathers to neglect their own need in the course of meeting their children's. When single mothers have primary custody of their children, they often feel they need to overcompensate for the absence of a father in the home. In the process, they'll fall into the trap of overindulging, overprotecting their children, and wind up stretching their emotional resources to the breaking point. Look at it this way. You can't supply anyone else's warehouse unless your own is fully stocked. Okay? But instead of taking care of themselves well enough to keep their warehouses full, single mothers often feel compelled to forego their needs in favor of their children's. Eventually and inevitably, the single mother's ability to go on giving collapses, and she vents her frustration at her children. Then guilt sets in, At this point, our single mother feels compelled to do something special for her children in order to make up for having lost her temper at them. Okay, and so that's a cycle, and I think that's a cycle sometimes just for parents. It might not only be for single parents, where you feel, you get so frustrated that you're taking it out on the children, then you feel guilty, and now you have to give them something to appease that guilt. So really, trying to just be steady throughout, not feeling guilty, but not taking things out on your children as well. Find a friend, have a friend, discuss whatever problems you have with your friend. Try to live a balanced life. Take care of yourself. You're an adult too, so you're going to need time on your own. You're going to need to have your own friends, have your own space, have somebody that you trust that can take care of your children while you go and get that hour that you need. Not necessarily a happy hour that means that you come home and now maybe you've had one too many drinks. That's not what we're saying. Remember, you're a parent, and so there are going to be some sacrifices involved, right? But it is your, it's your decision. So take care of yourself to ensure that you're able to, to be balanced with your children, and you don't have to be taking things out on them. And when you're overspending, or you're spending in an area that you're taking it from a major area, then that area is now going to suffer. And when that area suffers, now you're frustrated. All right, well, don't buy the iPad. Don't buy the latest gadget. Don't stop buying a pile of snacks for the children. Buy a bag of apples. All right? I'm just saying, just start to think a little bit differently, and what's more important is that, you're constantly building that relationship with your children, but remembering that you are building people one way or the other, and that it's your responsibility to ensure that they are positive, productive members of society every single day. That is your job as a parent. That is your job. That's it. And if you're not doing that, start thinking about it. All right. Hope I gave you a couple of nuggets. John Roseman, check him out. Online, Instagram, Amazon. His book is on that 6-point plan for raising happy, healthy children. He has some other books as well. One of them is called If Jesus Was a Parent. So yeah, very interesting, and will help you get through your stuff. But do not feel guilty about saying to your grown children, I will not be taking care of you anymore. You're going to have to either pull your own weight or visit me on Sundays and get some chili. But you'll be out there on your own. You'll see what real life is. Thank you all so much for joining me this afternoon. This has been your Wellness Wednesday show, and I hope you guys are home. If you're not, safe travels. This is Catherine Tyson, your host. This is your Straight Talk Drive to Drive show. I shall talk with you tomorrow. And, I just tune in and ensure that maybe give me a call tomorrow so we can chat a little bit. Take care and have a great, great evening.